If there's one chord that gives beginners absolute nightmares on the guitar, it is the F chord. The F chord is one of the 9 chords that I recommend that every beginner learns as part of their first chords to learn on the guitar. Unfortunately, it also happens to be quite tricky. The F chord is essential to being able to play a variety of different songs on the guitar, so it's really important that you get it down. The problem that a lot of beginners have is that they try and fret this chord in its entirety the first time that they try and learn how to play it. In this lesson, I'm going to present to you 6 steps in order to master the F chord and be able to play it like a total pro. Within that, there's going to be 6 shapes ranging from very easy to the full F bar chord shape and everything in between. We're going to take this chord shape, we're going to build it up slowly, step by step, and by the end of it, you will be confident that you will be able to master it. Let's start with the first F chord shape that we're going to take a look at. This is a simple F triad on the first fret. A triad is basically a 3-note chord. We're just going to play 3 strings on the guitar with 3 different fingers. So you may have seen a number of different ways to fret this F chord. You may not have seen this one that I'm about to show you right now. So we're going to take our 3rd finger and we're going to place it on the 3rd fret of the D string. We're going to take our 2nd finger and we're going to place it on the 2nd fret of the G. I'm going to put our 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string. Now, for now, there's no need to bar across on this high E string. There's no need to add any additional fingers. All you want to do to begin with is just make sure that you can fret and play these first 3 notes in this F chord. That would be the D string, G string, and the B string. You can strum a little bit as well on this chord, like that. If you fretted that chord shape and you're getting any unwanted muted strings in there like this, then what's happened is you're probably not arching your fingers enough to begin with. So you want to try and round those fingers more and press from the knuckle joint right there, and ensure that you're pressing down right on the fingertips in order to get a nice clear sound. Make sure that these fingers aren't touching the next string. So make sure the 3rd finger's not touching G, and make sure the 2nd finger's not accidentally touching the B string. So you might be thinking, well, how come that's an F chord and this is also an F chord? In the first example, you're playing 3 strings, and in the second example, you're playing 6. What's going on? When you play an F chord on guitar or in music, you're only actually playing 3 different notes. So that would be an F, an A, and a C, and you're playing them all together. When we fret and play that first chord shape that we learned just now, we're only actually playing F, A, and C. So fret number 3 on the D string is actually an F on guitar. Fret number 2 on the G is actually an A. And fret number 1 on the B string is a C. So those are the only 3 notes that you actually need to be able to play that chord. F, A, and C. When you fret the full bar chord and any of the other F chord shapes that I'm going to show you in this lesson, you're only playing an additional amount of F, A's, and C's. So for this full bar chord shape here, which we'll look at later on, fret number 1 on the low E string is F. Fret number 3 on the A string is C. Fret number 3 on the D, which we've already established, is an F. We've already said that fret number 2 on the G is an A. And we also said that fret number 1 on the B string is a C. And then fret 1 on the high E string is an additional F. So we have F, C, F, A, C, F. So we're not introducing any more notes, we're just playing more of the same. Now you might be thinking, well, can't I just play the first F chord shape that you showed me because it's really easy? Well, you might notice that although that still is an F chord, it doesn't sound as full and as rich as the full bar chord shape. So in some instances, you will just want to play the triad. Sometimes that will suffice, but we want to be able to play every single shape possible in order to make us the best and most versatile guitar players we can possibly be. Let's take a look at step number 2. We're going to add one more note to that first shape that we looked at, that first triad. We're not going to do any barring just yet. We're just going to make sure that we can fret that chord with 4 fingers. So we're building up that triad shape that we fretted in the first example. We're now going to move the ring finger over to fret 3 on the A string, which is a C, and then we're going to add the pinky finger to fret 3 on the D string. So now we have a 4-finger shape like this. Again, the only notes that we're playing, C, F, A, and C, so we're still playing an F chord. You want to ensure that each note is ringing out properly. So again, if you're getting any accidental muting when you're picking those strings individually, those are the most common ones that beginners can tend to get wrong. So in this example, my pinky finger is just accidentally touching the G, and my middle finger is accidentally touching the B string, which is causing those strings to be muted. So again, just try and arch your fingers more, press out from the knuckle joint. I'm not actually changing the position of my hand too much or even at all, it's the position of my fingers. So arch your fingers more, push out from the knuckle joint, press down on the fingertips, and there you have it. You might also be thinking, well, okay, why can't I just fret those first 2 chords to begin with? Sometimes I've found that beginners can struggle with muting strings that they're supposed to mute on the guitar. So in those first 2 examples, in order to be able to fret and play and strum those chords properly, you will have to mute some strings on purpose. In that first example, if I'm going to strum this chord in a normal strumming pattern, I really have to make sure that I'm muting the E string, the A string, and the high E string. Some beginners will tend to be able to fret this chord and not be able to mute any of those strings, meaning that you're going to get unwanted notes in there, and it's going to sound a little bit muddy. It's the same with our second chord shape. You need to be able to mute the low E string and the high E string, so being able to position your finger just enough to get this one muted and to be able to mute this one with your thumb. You also need to be quite careful with your strumming pattern, particularly if you haven't got the muting down for those 2 chord shapes just yet. All right, let's move on to step number 3 for mastering the F chord. We're now going to introduce a small bar into the equation, and we're actually going to be playing a Dm7 chord. One of the most difficult challenges beginners face when trying to fret the F chord for the first time is any type of barring, so whether it be the bar across all 6 strings or just the bar across the first 2. This Dm7 chord is going to introduce a small bar across 2 strings for the first time. However, we're only going to be fretting 3 strings in total with an open D. This is going to be a precursor to the 4-finger F chord shape with the bar on the top, but we're not going to worry about this 3rd finger just yet. What we want to do with this chord is bar across the B string and the high E string on the 1st fret like this. And then we're going to add the middle finger to fret 2 on the G like that. You can strum from the D to make this a Dm7 chord. The thing that beginners struggle the most about fretting this chord is the combination of having a flat finger here, pressing down with the pad, and then having to press down with a different part of the finger on the fingertip with your middle finger on the G string like this. So to backtrack, press down with the pad of your finger. You can see where the strings have been indented onto my 1st finger. Press down on both strings with that area of your finger to begin with to get the bar. The challenge will be to keep the bar pressed down when you introduce your middle finger. What will tend to happen at first with many beginners is that as soon as they introduce that 2nd finger, the 1st finger starts to lift up because the 2nd finger has to go arched, so the 1st finger thinks it has to go arched at the same time. When you're a beginner, developing the finger independence to tell your fingers to do completely different things can be a real challenge, but just persist with it. You may want to try and press down with the middle finger first, ensure that you can sound those strings, and then add your 1st finger to the equation afterwards. Again, you may find the reverse has happened in this example, where as soon as you add your 1st finger flat, this finger starts to go flat and you start to get this, where you're accidentally muting the B string. A lot of the time I found that beginners can easily bar across 2 strings, so no problem at all. It's just adding that second finger, keeping this one arched and this one flat while you fret the chord. Don't worry if you don't get it straight away, just keep practicing. Be aware that your fingers always want to do the same things as each other at first, and try and make them act independently from each other. So keep this one flat, keep this one arched, and if you're getting any muted strings in there, it might not necessarily be because you're not pressing down hard enough with the bar. It may be that this second finger is accidentally blocking that B string. Let's take that Dm7 chord shape that we just learned and we'll move on to step number 4, which is going to be the 3-finger F chord shape with a small bar. This is the most common F chord shape that beginners learn when they first start to look at F on the guitar. It looks like this, and it's probably one of the most useful chord shapes you'll learn early on. It means that you don't have to fret a full bar like that, but we still get the richness of 4 strings ringing out. And it also sounds nice and bright at the same time. Let's take a look at how we're going to fret that chord. So we're going to take the Dm7 chord form that we learned in step 3, and we're going to add the ring finger to the 3rd fret of the D string. So now that gives us the notes of F, A, C, and F. So again, bar with the pad of the finger. Again, you can see where the string marks are on my finger. You can see exactly where I've been pressing down. Add the 2nd finger to the G string. And then when this 3rd finger comes across, you're going to have to really arch this one in order to get that chord shape ringing out. So again, what tends to happen is that you've got your bar nice and flat, you add these fingers, and then this finger may start to come up because these ones start to arch, meaning that this one will start to arch. That will then give you this, where you're not quite flat enough with this finger. So make sure that you press down, keep this one flat, and keep these ones arched. Again, if you start to press down here, and this happens, then unfortunately these ones have started to go flat in line with this one. So try and push these ones forward from the knuckle joint like this, and keep that one flat. Again, it may not be because you're not quite strong enough with this finger and you're not pressing down hard enough or squeezing down hard enough. It might just be a simple thing of mechanics. So from the knuckle joint like that, and then flat with this finger. I've found with a lot of the beginners that I've taught, there's a lot of trial and error in being able to get this F chord down. In fact, some people can get it within a week or 2 with regular practice. Some people took months. It doesn't matter how long it takes, just keep persisting. That's the main thing. Just keep persisting with it, keep practicing it, keep adjusting those fingers, keep figuring out what works best for you, and eventually you will be able to sound it as clearly as I did just then. So we're now going to move on to step 5 with mastering the F chord. This time we're going to start to work our way towards that full bar chord shape. So step 5 is going to be the 4-finger F chord shape with the small bar on the B and the E string. So we're going to take that F chord shape that we learned in step 4 and we're going to expand it by adding our pinky finger into the equation, which will give us this, which sometimes is written as F over C, sometimes it's just written as a normal F. There we go. The advantage of this chord is that it does sound ever so slightly more full than the step 4 F chord, 3-finger F chord with the bar. But it's not quite as much effort to fret as a full bar chord like this. I will often use this F chord shape if I'm playing a song with mostly open chords. So if I'm playing C to A minor to F to G, for example, it's easier for me to keep my hand in this position rather than to switch for the full F bar chord in that example, so it's just less effort in total. You want to be as comfortable with every chord shape that we've learned as possible though. Let's take a look at how we're going to fret that F chord shape. So building on from what we learned in step 4, this was our 3-finger F chord shape with a small bar. We're going to move that ring finger over to fret 3 on the A string, and then the pinky finger is going to drop in to fret 3 on the D string and it's going to give us this chord. Some people may think this looks quite like a C chord on the guitar, and we have this. Again, if you struggle with this chord shape, go back to step 2, which was the 4-finger F chord without the bar, like this. You could even play the open high E string in there if you want to as well. That gives you an F major 7 chord. Once you're comfortable and confident that you've got all 4 strings ringing out in this chord shape, it's time to add that bar in like this. Again, it's exactly the same as what we were doing with step number 4. We're pressing down with that part of the finger. You can see exactly where the strings have been, right on the pad. Make sure that you don't put it on the fingertips by mistake. And just to go over some of the common mistakes again, they're very similar to the common mistakes in step number 4. They would be when you've added the bar, these fingers go too flat and they start to go towards the bar like this, which means you get unwanted muted strings. If that's happening, bend them forward from the knuckle joints again. It's all about this movement here. Take this first finger, try and keep these the same. They're going to want to go back like this. They want to go back this way. Try and keep them solid. Try and keep them strong here. Add the bar, press down with the pad, and then we have a 4-finger, 5-string F chord with small bar going across the B string and the E string. You may find it easier to fret this chord first, like this, and then add the bar, or fret the bar to begin with and then add these ones like this. Just be careful, if you go with the bar first with your first finger, when you add these ones in, you must try and keep this one pressed down in this shape. What's going to want to happen is this is going to want to come up as you're pushing out from the knuckle joints there. So this one stays strong, these ones push out, doesn't affect what's going on with this one. Step number 6, and our final step on our journey to F chord mastery, is the full F chord bar shape. The advantage over this chord is that you will get that low bass note on the first fret of the E string. And this is the fullest, most richest sounding F chord that you can play on the guitar. Every chord that we've looked at in this lesson has its place in guitar playing. This one's probably the most common one that you'll use, and this is the one that you want to work up to. The other advantage with this F chord shape is it's movable. So if you can play it on the first fret, you can play it on the 5th, 6th, 7th, etc. Essentially what we're doing with this full F bar chord is we're going to take the chord that we learned in step number 5, which was the 4-finger F chord shape with a small bar across fret 2, and we're now going to bar across all 6 strings like this. You saw what happened when I went from this chord shape into this one. My thumb completely changes position because now I need to bar across all 6 strings. So I can't leave my hand in this position anymore. I need to put my thumb behind the fretboard and I need to bar and do a full bar chord like this. So again, going from this shape to this shape, I have a slight bend in my wrist. I don't push too far out from my wrist like that. That's uncomfortable, and you're probably going to get problems and pain going down here if you keep doing that. So I bend my wrist as little as I need to, not too much, but just enough. I press down with the side of my first finger like this, and my thumb is behind the fingerboard in this position on the neck. It's just behind the first finger like that, and it's squeezing. I'm getting this pinch. They're squeezing together like that. You might also find it easier to fret an E chord type shape with your 2nd, 3rd and 4th finger like this first, and then add the bar in afterwards. So 2nd finger, 3rd finger and 4th finger down like that. Thumb going right behind the fingerboard, 1st finger like this, on the side of the finger, strum all 6 strings. Again, what can tend to happen with this shape is once these fingers are in position, they sound really good. Once the bar goes in, these fingers can sometimes want to go flat like this, and mimic what's going on with the bar chord, which will give you all kinds of problems when you try to ring out and sound this chord properly. So again, this needs to go flat. Perhaps fret the bar to begin with in this example, and ensure you can bar across all 6 strings. Then start to add the other ones in. Again, the hardest part about fretting these bar chords is keeping this one flat and keeping it solid while you introduce these ones. It's all about developing finger independence so that they can do different things when you're a beginner. So again, if you've accidentally got muted strings in there, it could be that these fingers are blocking and it's not the amount of pressure that you're placing from the bar chord. So push these fingers up, make sure they're round, and try and keep this solid and flat. So there you have it, 6 steps to master the F chord. We went from very basic, easy shapes into the more advanced full 6-string bar chord. Again, as I mentioned before, if you don't quite get any of these steps straight away, persist, keep going, keep practicing. Eventually, with regular practice, it might just click and you'll be able to play every shape in this lesson with no problem at all, and you'll sound like a pro when you fret any of these F chords. But don't be disheartened. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. Even if it takes you a year, keep going, you will get it. It's the ones that keep practicing and keep persisting that will get the results. If you give up, you'll never see them. Don't forget, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to never miss one of my videos. Subscribe to the channel, it really helps. And until next time, take care and enjoy guitar playing. Thanks for watching.